Welcome to Stitch Crazy. Today I am going to do a block that is called cotton reels, and you are going to need 2 squares of one color, and then you want 2 blocks of another color, kind of contrasting so you can see a difference. The sample of the block is this. You'll have like one color here, these 2, and then you want 2 colors making your triangle blocks. And we've made them before, but I will show you again. So this is kind of a sample of what we're going to be doing today. The supplies that you're going to need are, of course, your cutting mat and your cutting tools. You got a square, and we've got like a ruler. And you can mark your squares with like painter's tape. If you're going to be doing like a lot of 4.5-inch squares and you use this bigger one, you can mark them so that it's easier to put it on your fabric, and then you can cut it accordingly. Okay, we'll need a scissors, a rotary cutter. We're going to need a pencil. I'm using a white colored pencil today, but you can also use like a chalk pencil, being as we're going to be marking on the wrong side of the fabric. So, or an ink pen, whichever you want to use. Okay, and then of course we're going to need fabric. Today I use blue jeans and I use some scraps, but there's different ways that you can buy fabric. And one way is like pre-cuts. This happens to be a wool, and these are like 3.5-inch blocks. And it tells you even like you got approximately 1/8 yard in this little packet. You can buy, these are 5-inch blocks, pre-cut. And they usually tell you how many you have in here. 27 pieces in this one. You can buy them by 2.5-inch squares. You can buy their roll, they're a jelly roll it's called. These are 2.5-inch strips cut the width of the fabric from selvage to selvage. And then it's usually got like 7-8 fabrics that are different, that are coordinating together. So you don't have to go, oh, I need this, this, and this, and this. If you need 5 and you've got 5 in here, use them. Be a lot easier. You can buy these in bundles of 1/2 yard, and this one's got like 5 fabrics in there in this particular bundle. You can buy bundles with like 1/8 of a yard in it, so you can watch that when you buy those. You can buy a fat quarter, which is 18 by 21 inches. Just singly, you know, they run probably $1 or so for one of these. And then you can buy them by the 1/2 yard, the yard, 1/4 of the yard, if you didn't want to buy any of these other options. Okay, so I just wanted to show you there's different options of buying different types of fabric, different ways. The pre-cuts are real popular. They have called layer cakes, which is like a 10-inch, and they're coming up with new sizes all the time. Okay, sometimes it's nice to have extra fabric just for like accent. Maybe you only need 1 square yellow in your block. Well, then you'll have it for scraps for later. So, okay, so that's one way of buying fabric. For this block, you are going to need, this is a smaller, this is like a 6.5-inch block. Okay, you're going to need 2 squares of one color. So I used black on this one. And then I did 2 shades of purple, a light and a dark. Okay, so on this one you'll need, actually this is not a 6.5-inch. This is a 4.5-inch on this one. Okay, so you need 2 4.5-inch blocks, and then on this you're going to need 4 7/8.
Faster than fast internet is here. Valley now has higher broadband speeds of up to 1 gigabit. Get the bandwidth you need for all your devices at one time. Gaming with no lag time. Video stream your favorite movies instantly in HD quality. Video chat with friends and family without interruption. Download your favorite music and photos in seconds. All on our 100% fiber optics network. Valley offers managed Wi-Fi and backup services too, bringing together all the services you need. Valley Telecommunications Cooperative.
So for the triangle squares, we're going to need, these are bigger blocks, but we're going to use them anyway. You will take 2 fabrics that you want together, and you will lay them down right sides together. And then we are going to mark the block corner to corner, kind of like we did on our snowball one, except for this one you're going to be making 2 blocks at one time. And there we just did it for a line for sewing. So we're going to mark, on this one I'm going to use a darker, because we're going to be marking on the wrong side of the fabric. But if it was a dark fabric, you'd probably want to use a lighter one. So I'm going to align this from corner to corner. And because this is a wider ruler, I make sure that when I put my pencil down that it's actually hitting the point. And same with up here, I want to make sure my line is hitting that center of that point. And then I just bring this down, draw my line from end to end. Okay, so if you can see, we've got a line drawn from one end to the other end. Now on the triangle squares, we are going to be sewing on each side of this line, and then in the end we're going to be cutting it. So we'll go to the sewing machine. And we're going to be sewing between 1/4 and 1/8 on each side of that line. So I'm going to take my fabric here. I'm going to sew down one side, and then I'm going to pull this, and then I'm going to sew down the other side. I'm lining up my guide with that middle line. Okay, so now we'll take it back to the cutting board. Okay, so now I should have used a different color so you could see my lines, but I sewed like 1/4 of an eighth to 1/4 of an inch on each side of that line.
Valley is now offering updated digital TV packages and prices. Ask us about the brand new Choice TV package. Call Valley today at 437-2615.
Okay, we're going to use the rotary cutter, and we're going to go from one end we're going to cut it apart into 2 pieces. Sometimes those threads just get caught here. And then what we're going to do is we would take it to the ironing board and we would press it. And then we would take our square that we have here, and we have two triangle squares this way. When you have 2 blocks like that and you're putting them together, you have 2 squares, identical. So depending on what size your finished block is, I'm going to make this bigger because I don't want to waste a lot of the fabric. So on the rulers, they have a line going down the middle, and then they have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so forth. So you want to line that middle line up with your line that has the 2 colors, and then you want to cut it to the size that you want. I cut 2 sides, and then I usually twist it over. And so say if I want a 6-inch finished, then when I've done my first cut, I would line this middle thing up again, have my 6 and 6, and then I would cut each side so that it would get to be the size that you want. This one's smaller, of course, because it's our other piece. Okay, so that's what you would need. You'd need 2 squares and 2 of these. So you actually need 4 pieces of fabric to make this block. Okay? So then what I would do, you have your triangle square and your triangle square. Now on this, you can have them facing the same way, and then you have 2 plain blocks. Okay, on this one I use white. But if you want them different like that, you can flip the block around and have the dark blue going this way and the dark blue going that way. There's no really right or wrong way. It just depends what the look you want. So if you want them the same, then you just flip them so the lights are on that side and the darks are on that side. Like this one here. On this one, I had the lights going to the middle and the darks going out. And then what you do is you sew the solid to the triangle square. I can do that. Over here. And I usually flip my blocks so that my seam is up on the top, so you can see which way it's going. And then we're going to sew the solid block to the triangle block. So then you have, just press that down and press it down. And then you would do the same with the second one. Just press or sew that together and then lay it down and then sew the 2 rows together. And then you get this finished block. Okay, so if you wanted to make an 8-inch block, finished block, you would need 2 4.5 squares and 2 4 7/8 squares to put together to make the triangle square, and then you would cut them down to the 4.5 when you're done. For the 12-inch, you would have a 6.5 and a 6.5 inch square, and I would have a 7-inch for each one of these, and then lay them down, sew them into the triangle squares, and then cut them down to the 6.5. And then on the smaller one, you would need a 3-inch square, 2 of the solid, and then I would do at least a 3 7/8, and then you would sew them and cut them down to the 3-inch when you're done. So this shows you how you can do it in blue jeans. You can use the black and the purple, and here I use the white and some just scraps of fabric. Okay, so this is a sample of how we did this. In the past, I've shown you how, like, if you wanted to do just squares, then you would come up with this 4-patch, and I've done this in the past. And then we've also done a different sample. We've used blocks and triangle squares, and then we got this square out of it. Here's your triangle squares, and here's your squares. So it's just basically using the same technique, just arranging them different to make a different pattern. And this one is called Cotton Reel Block. So I hope you've enjoyed our show today. If you have any questions or ideas for me to do, call me at 437-2615. Thank you.